The felon in full panic mode? Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, hitting that thumbs up button, and making a comment of more than 7 words really does help spread the video to more people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing the videos, for promoting the channel on your own social media platforms. It's all greatly appreciated. And if you've given money to the channel through the Venmo or Buy Me a Coffee or the Super Thanks, huge, huge thank you. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. So, and also thank you for all the well wishes. I am feeling better. It just took some time to get over this illness. So if you happen to get this, take your time. It's one of those ones where if you try to push through, it's just doesn't really work out. So, okay. The felon is in complete panic. Um, when I was meditating this morning, so I'm recording this on the early mornings of Saturday. Uh, the energy that was coming from him was kind of like a panic attack. I guess is the best way to explain it. Um, it's like the thoughts were bouncing pretty fast um, in his head, yet they were constantly changing what he was thinking about because he can't focus because I think that's part of the dementia, for entertainment purposes only. But going back and forth, like he realizes he's messed up the economy. So we're going to take a look at the economy here in just a second. He realizes that Republicans are turning on him. Indiana and Kansas have both said that they're not going to redistrict. And the reason why they're not going to redistrict is because there's no way to redraw these districts to in a feasible way to make safe Republican districts out of the to like draw Frank Mervan out of Indiana and Mrs. Davis out of Kansas. Um, Kansas is going to be one of the states that flips blue next. Um, Indiana, not so much, but Indiana went from having three or four Democratic Congress people down to two. So they've already gerrymandered that pretty hard. And Mervan represents that portion of Indiana that's just to the east of Chicago. So it's quite tricky to figure out a way to um, do that in a way that doesn't dilute the safe Republican district. And if you're a Republican, I don't think you want to be running in a Republican plus 10 district in 2026. You very well might lose. We saw in 2018, Kendra Horn, for example, near Oklahoma City, win in a Republican plus 20 district. Uh, and the felon's more unpopular now than he was in 2018, because in 2018, at least you couldn't say that he had ruined the economy and hadn't thrown farmers and ranchers under the bus. And these are, in Kansas and in Indiana in particular, we're talking about some agricultural districts that would be redrawn. And I think that's why Republicans are bailing on. So the felon feels like he's in this panic mode because he realizes he doesn't even have control of Republicans anymore. They're not going to answer to him. They're going to probably, buck him on Epstein. And while he can say that the DOJ is going to investigate Democrats and Pam Bondi with her brown nose will probably do it, it's okay. When I was scrying on that incident, it's okay. Let them investigate Democrats. Let them investigate Larry Summers. He's probably guilty of something anyhow. Let them investigate Bill Clinton. I don't think there's much there, but you never know. And if there is, so be it. But what it's going to do is it's going to expose the Republicans along the way because you can't have uh, trials without the defense being able to introduce a bunch of evidence. So let him do it. It'll be his own undoing if they pursue this. I don't think they actually will, by the way. I'm just saying it'll be his own undoing if they do. Um, you know, it just so Republicans are turning on him. The economy's not doing well. The Senate had voted to undo some tariffs. Now that's never going to become law because Mike Johnson's never going to take it up. But the felon's in full panic. He just is. And this is kind of the energy I was talking about when it comes towards the end. It's like he's so stressed out. Now, whether he knows he's stressed out, that's a different story because I don't think he's exactly the most self-aware person. That these are the things that really affect his health. So I want to look at his health in November and December. I want to look at the economy. I want to look at are Republicans going to continue to turn away from him? And is this panic going to continue? So let's start first with the economy. And let me first be very clear that this is for entertainment purposes only. This is a tarot reading. Please do not make financial decisions based on what I say. Please do your own research. Ironically, I don't see the stock market crashing. I do see the economy going down, but the stock market reacting positively. Again, don't make decisions based on me, because Wall Street really wants lower interest rates so that if they can refinance some debt, and that'll increase their profits. So it's the stock market and the economy are not the same thing. So I don't think we should be too worried about our retirement plans. It might go down in the short term, but it'll bounce back. It'll be okay. Um, okay. So it's like, how is the economy in the United States? Show us the economy let's just do over the next well, we'll say 6 months, but timing and tarot don't really always work. Yeah, it definitely. I'm getting an image of a Christmas tree and the scrying bowl. It looks like the presents are spaced out to make it look like there's more than there are. I do think it's going to be a tough Christmas for a lot of us. Um, if you have the means to contribute to the food banks, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to call and ask what they need or if they just want a cash donation, because sometimes they need things like toothpaste, laundry soap, things that we don't always think about. Um, Socks. So, and if you need to use the food banks, because I'm pretty sure there's a couple people listening that do, d- just do it. Don't feel shame about it. That's why people donate. Um, that's what it's for. Okay, so how's the economy doing? We start off with the Nine of Pentacles. The economy was okay. It really was. When he took over, the economy was okay. It didn't necessarily feel that way because inflation is a scary thing. It has not stopped. It's still going on, and it's getting worse, in particular with food prices. Uh, you know, it's been a while since I've been to the grocery store because I've been sick, but and I just happened to have a lot of canned goods on hand and some stuff in the freezer to make soup with, so it's all we've been eating. Uh, but just looking at like the Kroger app, their digital cells basically put things back at the price that they were. They're not really even good cells. So I think. we're not heading in a great place. We have to hang demand in the environment around here, and that makes a lot of sense to me because even if we have a little bit of money in the bank, not a lot, just even a little, or maybe even a lot, I don't know. Um, we're scared to spend it. There's a fear of spending money right now. People aren't buying new cars that are approaching the situation logically, unless they're just not worried about money at all. But people aren't really going out and purchasing things that they don't need. Yes, they're buying washers and dryers and refrigerators and stoves, the stuff that you need. Fixing their HVAC units. This kind of stuff is staying fine. But the luxury items, the jewelries, the perfumes, colognes, these things, it's going to be a rough retail season for those companies, in particular. Now some things have gotten cheaper rather than being inflated, like laptops, for example, are very cheap. Not good ones, but ones that'll do if you're like me and not that technologically advanced. So it's an interesting situation here. We are going to hear stories of stuff, especially around Christmas, of people struggling. You know, there are things that we can do there as a community to help younger parents in particular and parents in general, uh, to try to give their children a good Christmas. But that's harder. Um, but that's exactly what's going to happen with the Six of Pentacles, giving and receiving of money. People are generous when they can be. And, you know, uh, I think I think we've seen that over the last month with the government shutdown and the food banks. Then I think we'll see it again with, some of the programs where, there's one in our local community where the local police department gathers uh, toys to give out to children, um, things like that. Um, the Eight of Cups, people are starting to lose faith a little bit. Now, I don't know that that's the right move, by the way. Is the economy slowing and is it not good? Yes, it's not good. The labor market is not good in particular. People are losing their jobs. Um, but I think everything by the time we get to the summer months kind of improves. I think the Supreme Court helps it along the way with doing something with these tariffs. And I think the felon leaving the planet also helps as well. We get the Ace of Pentacles. We're in this new financial reality, and it's one that we're not very comfortable with. That's just the truth. We're not comfortable with it because we don't know how much our, $20 bill goes or our $100 bill goes. Taking $100 into the grocery store is not a lot of money these days. It's just not. I mean, and eating out is, expensive as well. And it's like these are the luxuries that we are going to skip out on. Um, I know for us personally, we've already stopped eating out, mostly probably because we're sick, but uh, it's just it's not worth it in the grand scheme of things. And you can make a big pot of soup and it lasts for a couple days, or you can make you know, enchiladas or tacos or whatever. Lentil tacos is a big thing for us because it's real cheap and it's good for you, according to the doctors. Um, there's a lot up in the air. That's why I think we need to reserve judgment on how it's all going to play out. Yes, it's going to be bad for a while, but how it all plays out at the end, I think, is a little bit not as bad as we're anticipating. And I hope I'm right on that. I certainly can be wrong. Uh, the economy's been wounded with the Five of Swords here. It's a self-inflicted wound by these tariffs and by raising healthcare premiums and other things. So, what happens if your electricity bill is $200 more than it was the month before? That $200 comes from somewhere for most of us. Most of us don't have extra money at the end of the month. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. If you're on a fixed income, it's even, there's it's even harder because, there's no overtime or things like that to make it up for. So it's a tricky time. There are things going on behind the scenes that we can't see. And I think this is the saving grace is this energy here. So things were fine. He basically walked away from a good economy. That's what he did. But there are things working for us behind the scenes with the high priestess. Uh, it's hard to say where exactly this lands, but he walked away from something good, and we're going to hear stories about how much it's affecting people, especially over the holidays. Um, people are sitting on their money that have it, uh, with the exception of people are generous when it comes to giving to food shelters, food banks, toy drives for children, coat drives for children, these types of things, donating to homeless shelters. Um, it's a new reality and it was self-inflicted by the felon. So I'm certainly not trying to scare anybody because I think this is just a blip. And once he's gone, things recover and things are fine. But it's a blip. And when the Democrats take over the House in 2026, they could put an end to a lot of this stuff. So, uh, they're having to defend themselves to the voters on the economy, and that's why voters are turning away from them, is because we realize, not just the people on this channel, but everybody realizes how little the dollar goes these days. It just doesn't buy as much as it used to buy. And I mean, it's well, it is what it is. Okay, let's look at MAGA and Republicans. I'm going to put them together, although really there's not too many non-MAGA Republicans. One might argue the governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, for example, is not MAGA, yet he's willing to do the felon's bidding by trying to redistrict Indiana, but it seems like this is going to fail. Seems like it's going to fail in Indiana. I have a feeling it fails in Florida, by the way, but we'll look at that more closely. I think it succeeds in Virginia, and I think it succeeds in some other Democratic states, and that's why Democrats come out ahead in the redistricting battle. Yeah, they're walking away from him. They just are. The Eight of Cups flying out there because he's gonna be gone soon enough, and they're gonna have to they're gonna want a future without him, right? It's like this is his miscalculation. The the sicker he appears, the less likely they are to go with him. Because every election has shown if he's not on the ballot, the people that support him don't vote. And that hurts the Republicans. And that's what's going to happen in the midterms. Um, I actually feel more confident about Democrats winning the Senate in 2026. Not super confident. We'll take a look at that later on. Um, got plenty of time to look at that. Okay, so what do we need to know about this? Republicans bucking the trend on the Epstein files, turning on redistricting, Senate Republicans, four of them at least, voting to overdo tariffs, even though it's never going to happen, the Supreme Court not going along with some of his arguments. These are all messages, and it's messages about survival. That's really what people are thinking. They're thinking about how do we get through the next election? And by people, I mean MAGA and Republicans. How do they get through the next election without losing their seats? Now, some will never lose their seats because they're so super gerrymandered, right? Democrats are not going to win more than 240 seats, most likely, because there just aren't 240 seats to win, at the most 250. Uh, but, and, the Democrats, when they won 40 seats in 2018, they were starting at a much lower number than they are this time around. So this is messages about survival. This is messages about looking out for themselves at the Nine of Pentacles, thinking about what is it they need, not the broader picture. They're not even, most of the individual politicians aren't thinking about the party. They're thinking about their jobs. And yes, they get paid good sums of money, but a House member makes under 200,000, which I know is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not, but it's also not enough money to where you don't have to worry about money, right? Like it's not it's money's a different game. Um, once you start spending what you make. So now granted they get a lot of benefits and stuff after they're ousted, but um yeah, they're looking towards the Democrats. They know the Democrats are going to take over uh because that's what the voters want. The Four of Wands really couldn't be any clearer. At the center of the reading is the bombshells and surprises because the time has come. 6 months ago, 9 months ago, a year and a half ago, the idea that Republicans would turn on the felon was unthinkable. And no, they're not turning on him and throwing him under the bus and necessarily, but that will start, especially if he leaves the planet. Um, excuse me. But what's happening is that he's no longer of use, especially after they make it through the primaries. And he said something about Marjorie Taylor Greene today. If you're thinking Marjorie Taylor Greene is so far out there, the felon did, that is, uh, there's something really wrong with you. This is what I mean by panicking. He's just Republicans aren't going to go for it because they know the truth. The truth is he's not going to be around in another 3 years for sure. Now, I don't think he'll make it that long, by the way. I'm not changing any sort of prediction here. But intellectually, they know he's not going to be able to run for president again. But they're going to have to survive. They're going to have to position themselves politically. So, and that's what they're doing. They're making the choice to distance themselves, or they're making the choice to wait it out until he's gone. One of the two. Now, the Republicans that are in more vulnerable districts are going to make the choice to distance themselves. Those that can wait it out are going to wait it out. So if you're the senator from Wyoming, you don't care. You're not losing your seat, most likely. Um, and this is a surprise for a lot of us that this is actually starting to happen. So they're sending the message that they're ready to jump ship with the Page of Cups and look towards something new. to win an election. And that's really all it's about is elections. It's not about governing. It's not about helping people like you and me. It never was for most of them. They're making the choices to jump ship because they know that the Democrats are going to not just win 2026, they're going to really win 2026. It's going to be big. There's no fixing it. There's no scenario where they lose the House. There just isn't. You can gerrymander away. Democrats are going to gerrymander back. Um, it's just not going to happen. So, and then once the Democrats control the House, then they control the, you know, Judiciary Committee, and then they can start investigations, and everything just kind of gets really icky. And they will investigate Republican members of Congress that have done bad things, like Jim Jordan. That's what's going to happen. So Republicans know that they have to be in it for themselves. That's the only way they can possibly convince the voters to stay with them. But, I don't think the voters are coming back with the hanged man. I think the truth is that the 2026 election is already baked into the cards, unless something really drastic happens. Um, where all of a sudden we're all, millionaires, which is not going to happen. So the $2,000 stimulus check isn't probably going to happen. And even if it does, I don't think that wins over voters. They're, breaking the partnership for stability, the Two of Cups followed by the Queen of Pentacles, because, families, the Ten of Cups, they're done with the felon. They're just done. People have seen what Republican policies are doing to public schools on a state level, and how rich people are getting subsidies to send their kids to private schools. Meanwhile, the public schools are deteriorating. Rural hospitals are getting worse, if not closing. The Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement rates for rural hospitals aren't sufficient enough for them to take certain insurance policies that the government offers. Things are really messy out there. So Republicans are just turning on him. That's just the way it's going to be. It's not going to work. They're not going to win the election. Some might squeak by, but it's not. Okay, so let's just take a look here. Um, the felon in full panic mode. By the way, this deck and this other Gilded deck, it's just the Rider Waite that's been aged. It's made by Craft Cards. You can get them relatively cheap on uh, Amazon. Okay. What do we need to know about the felon's panic? He feels, I wouldn't say scared because I don't think he knows that word. He feels super irritated, agitated. Like there's moments where he feels like he can't breathe. Um, it's kind of your classic panic attack symptoms. Although he has some serious health conditions underneath it, so it's a little scarier. What do we need to know about this? It's the felon panicking. Well, the devil popped out, so it's definitely some toxicity in his life. What do we need to know about that? It's the felon panicking. Yeah, there's in the scrying bowl, there's an image of like a balloon-like object that's deflating, inflating, deflating, inflating, and going really fast, but not uniformly, which I think is supposed to be representative kind of his heartbeat. Uh, The Six of Pentacles, I'm sorry, Six of Wands, the victory card. He doesn't understand why people aren't groveling at his feet. He doesn't get it. That's what happens when you're in the second term and you can't run again. There's really no reason to grovel for him. Can he affect certain primaries? Probably. But even then, they've kind of taken on a mind of their own, the MAGA folks in certain states. If they nominate Ken Paxton in Texas, that's great for the Democrats. Um, the world card. I think world leaders are starting to stand up to him too. I think they're just saying, go ahead, tax the American people with tariffs. We don't care. Uh, and, circles of support, you're about to see what that means in just a second. But he knows the truth. That's the thing. He does. He won't ever acknowledge it. And I don't know that he can acknowledge it to himself, but he knows he's ruined the economy. He knows the numbers. We don't, not yet, because they haven't been released because um, the government was shut down for so long. But he knows that the labor market is in really bad shape. People are losing their jobs. Foreclosure rates have increased. Repossessions on car loans, or repossession of cars, I should say, has increased. Now, it's not to the level of like the financial crisis of 2007, but it's not going in the right direction either. Um, you know, it's almost as if he kind of realizes that he's got to switch course, but he doesn't know how to do that in safe face. And that's a terrible, this is why you don't elect a narcissist, right? You need a president that can pivot when things aren't going right. Um, and I don't think he's capable of that. We do get circles of support around money. I think people are lying to him, telling him things are better than what they are, but I think he ultimately knows the truth. The lover's card choices. Uh, it's like he's made this mess. That's why he's panicking. It's because he knows he's responsible for it all. And he's not well. He also knows that. The Four of Swords, the ill health card. And then the Ace of Cups again in the same position, this uh, need for a new beginning. So he thinks he's victorious, uh, or he's convinced himself. He knows that things need to be tweaked and changed to bring about a better outcome, but he doesn't know how to do it in safe face because ultimately that's what it's about for him. He's made choices that have led to work being harder to find. Uh, but the people around him, they're not losing their jobs. Uh, Not yet. When the election comes, a lot of them will, but the world is doing better than the US, I think. He knows the truth. He's quite ill, but there are people that are feeding him whatever information he wants to hear to make himself feel better. But these people are getting fewer and far between. Uh, it's just a matter of time. He is in complete anxiety mode. That's just what it is. Now, he doesn't probably know that word anxiety in the sense of what it actually is. I mean, he probably knows the word, but he doesn't probably really know what. When he's anxious, I don't think he knows what that is. The devil card, there's a lot of toxicity going on with him. So it's it's scary because he's the one that gets to make decisions for all of us. and he's completely unaware. All right, let's look at the felon's health here in November and December to wrap this up. So we'll just do a spread for each, just the felon's health in November. And I realize November's half over, but um, yeah, let's do that. Let's do the felon's health for the rest of November, and then we'll do December as a whole. It's just about the felon's health here. It's not good. Yeah, everything's up in the air. It's like a 50-50 proposition almost every day on whether he makes it. And like I said, it'll be a surprise when it happens. It's not like he's going to be in hospice. It's like, and he's gone. That's the way it's going to be. Uh, he's definitely taking some medicines here, possibly some new ones even. His life cycle is about to end, the world card. The end of the biggest cycle. All that greed, all that partying. I know he doesn't drink, or he claims he doesn't drink, but when he was younger, your body holds guilt, whether you want to or to acknowledge it or not. Your body does. That's kind of how, in some ways, karma works, but I just think that it's affecting him. He's very worried and weary about his future. Yeah, and the environment around is the Ace of Wands. This is new leadership. This is Vance. He can see it, you know. I mean, we have the death card, and no, the death card doesn't need to mean physical death, but in a health reading that passes through the way that it's going to pass when we pull the cards here, it's, it's definitely there. It's inevitable, the Three of Wands. It's going to happen. Uh, and every time he sends out a fiery message, a tweet or a truth or whatever we're calling these things, he's just one step closer to the end. It's like it's not good. His health is it's like juggling, and he's scared, and that's why he's acting out. That part's scary for us, but I'm sure we're going to be fine. I really do. You know, death is here. He's scared of it and his life cycle ending, but it's going to happen, and he knows it. It's just a matter of timing. He's taking some new medicines. All that greed and things that he did in the past is eating at him physically. I don't know that it's mentally. I don't think he's that aware, but um, it's inevitable that we end up with somebody else running the country. It's gonna happen. So does he go in November? It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised. He's made choices in particular around the Epstein stuff. Ugh. The Chariot card, which is not normally about that stuff, but this is my card for trafficking. Um, he's heading towards a new beginning, and I think he thinks he's going to end up in the opposite of heaven with the Devil card here. Complete and utter downfall. The Ten of Swords. His health is very volatile. Him being angry and stuff doesn't help things. You can't really make this stuff up. I'm gonna switch decks here for December, but No, it feels like um, November could be a pretty important month. It was the felon in December. December. Sure that he makes it, but I think they're giving him certain things to make him look better in public, and that's actually making things worse. But yeah, the Five of Swords, he's very much wounded. He's very ill. I mean, we can see the dementia, and this is my card for dementia, but in the Light Seers deck. There is no coming back from this, right? There is no cure for the health issues he has. Uh, this is the way it is. We get victory in the environment around. The question is whose victory, and I have a feeling it's ours. We get ill health, the Four of Swords in the upper right. We get the Queen of Wands, discernment. At the center of the reading, we get the Democrats, the King of Cups. And we get the Three of Wands, this inevitability. Lots of fire energy in the environments around. With the church, the pope, the courts, our higher selves, spirituality, the Hierophant, circles of support in the environment around, and we get strength. So to me, this isn't good. It's like he's wounded in battles. Democrats are going to start asking questions about his strength or his health. His higher self is going to come into questions, and Democrats are going to start asking questions about his health. This could be post exit, though. It's inevitable that we get victory and we get a, a better discernment on things and a little bit better um, help on the economy. Now, I'm not saying Vance is going to be a good president. I don't think that. But I think Vance will be better for the economy because he'll be predictable. It's really quite simple. That's it. That's the only reason why I think that. He can be bombastic all he wants. He can say horrible things about immigrants all he wants. But the truth is, nobody listens to him because he just doesn't have the pull. Nobody cares. He's creepy. He's hard to look at. And maybe that's really judgmental of me. I guess it is, but I think it's pretty true. That's the energy around him. The energy that people get around him is that he's creepy and he's hard to look at. Um, yeah, we get families and celebrations, reunions, we get stability, and we get this image of death as well. Choices needing to be made, and then the Four of Cups, people are done. And then we get this new beginning. And there's something wrong with his heart, the Three of Swords. Um, that's an interesting card there. It's like maybe something they do to try to help his heart actually is what takes him out. But anyhow, I really don't think he's alone too much longer. Um, we shall see. I certainly can be wrong, but it's okay. So, all right. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll be back with another video soon.